Okay, Dr. Joe's in the house. And sorry, I'm a few minutes late. I was a guest speaker at a real estate event, and it's still going on, but I had to leave. I was talking about, what savvy landlords do, which is to avoid problems. And, by avoiding problems, you can reach your goals a lot faster. So savvy landlords or savvy investors, they don't solve problems, they avoid problems. That's the gist of what I was saying. Anyway, I'm back. So apologies for a few minutes late. So today we're going to talk about money. We're talking about how to get money, traditional mortgages, understanding the application process. And so as usual, if you got some questions, please put them in the chat box and I'll get to them in about 20 minutes from now. And anything to real estate investing, whether it's landlording, whether it be buying your first house, buying your next house, whatever it is to real estate, put it in the chat box and I'll get to them shortly. And as always, if you want to book a one-on-one with me where you can do a deep dive into your situation, you can go to my website, www.joeasamoah.com. You can schedule a one-on-one. Really, really good sessions. I had one this week with Johnny. Looking forward to working with you, Johnny, on your next deal. So let's make it happen. Okay, so let's talk about money. So have you ever been, found a perfect investment property? Everything's looking good, and the deal falls apart because, for whatever reason, your financing was denied. There were some terms that the quote unquote underwriter said, and you couldn't get it, and therefore the deal's dead. So it's happened to me several times, and so for many real estate investors, really the mortgage application process it's not understood very well, but it's critical. It's really critical that you and I understand how to get the money, because I don't care what anybody says. If you want to grow your portfolio, you're going to need to get some money from somewhere. It doesn't have to be your money, but the money needs to be from somewhere. Many times it's from a financial institution. And so therefore, it's really important that we understand how to get the money, because it's the viability of our strategy and our long-term goals is really dependent on that. So whether you're looking to scale, understanding traditional financing really makes a difference between growing your business or just watching an opportunity to slip away. So this is the reason why I do this. I did this live stream today, is to really go through the ins and outs, talk about the ins and outs of this traditional mortgages and some of the hard lessons learned that I've made. And hopefully it can help you avoid some of the common mistakes and build wealth lasting. So I broke it into 6 parts as usual. And so I'm going to go from 1 through 6. And the first one is why traditional mortgages matter. Why traditional mortgages matter. And so I suppose the question is, why do traditional mortgages remain the gold standard for residential and real estate investing? Why is it so important to master traditional mortgage financing? Well, the bottom line is that traditional mortgages financing, that's the Fannie Mae's of this world, the Freddie Mac's of this world, the FHA's of this world. They're the most stable, scalable financing options for residential real estate investors like you and I. Unlike hard money loans, many commercial loans or creative financing strategies, traditional loans offer many benefits. The interest rates are lower generally. The amortization schedule is usually longer, like 30 years versus, let's say, commercial is like 25 years. And therefore it's stationary, it's stable for the period of the loan. It could be 30 years. So your monthly payments are a lot more predictable. I've got several commercial loans. I'm going through some right now where they were 5 years and 7 years, and now they're going through reset. So the rates have gone up since when I got the loans, and so I'm going to have to refinance the higher rate. If I had traditional loans, that wouldn't happen. It'll be stable for 30 years. So so there are definitely advantages of having traditional financing versus commercial financing, especially in terms of predictability, cash flow, and so on. So when used wisely, traditional mortgages become a foundational tool that enables investors like you and I to responsibly scale without over leveraging. It's predictable. And once we know what the terms are, for the most part, those terms are going to remain as long as you have the loan in place. So, but many investors overlook the significance of traditional financing. A common mistake is that assuming that all mortgages are the same or they're created the same. Or all they care about the financing is just about, do you have a good credit score? No. There's a lot more to it than that. In reality, lenders, they evaluate a lot of different things. Your personal financial health, the property level metrics, and also the market conditions. So investors who fail to understand these expectations often face deal-killing surprises late in the process, i.e. the loans is delayed, rejected, for whatever reason. So successful investors view traditional mortgages not as hurdles, but really as opportunities to structure the financing that will allow you to support your long-term goals. And for many of us, our long-term goals is to establish a portfolio of properties and cash flowing properties, appreciating properties, and leverage the true power of real estate, tax benefits, cash flow, equity buildup, and appreciation. So it means that you're going to have to understand what the lenders are looking for, what their criteria is, and you're going to have to build some relationships and make sure that when you submit an application, it's a strong application, which means that you need to understand what they're looking for in order to be approved. So, what we want to do is really avoid the guesswork. And that's what we're going to talk about today. How can we avoid the guesswork? So that way our loans are approved, and therefore we can start building our portfolio and develop a strategic roadmap. So what are some of the action items that we can do, or you can do as part of this thing? Study how traditional mortgages terms compare to alternate financing. Alternate financing, things like hard money, DSCR loans, etc. Assess your current financial position and identify gaps that that may concern the lenders, and also set goals to improve your financing readiness over the next 3 to 6 months. Look at your credit, look at your reserves, understand what the documentation requirements are for lenders, and let's try to get all those things in place. So that way, when we apply for a loan, we're more likely to get accepted. So that's number one. Number two is understanding the underwriting criteria. What does that mean? It means that, what we need to understand, what are the lenders really looking for, and how can you position yourself to meet or exceed their expectations. So, underwriters. So typically, what happens is that you get a loan, not get a loan. You see a house, you apply for financing, you submit the paperwork to the loan officer, and the loan officer, puts all that stuff together and make sure all the right documents are there and so on, and then they submit it to the lender to go through what they call underwriting. So these underwriters are the ones that's going to review your file and make a decision as to whether to lend you the money or turn you down. So the question becomes, what do they look for, in assessing risk, and how do they determine whether you qualify for the loan or whether you don't? Okay, so this process goes far beyond simply looking at your income and credit scores. It really includes things like an in-depth analysis of your personal and your business financing. They may ask for your tax returns, your business and your personal tax returns. They'll look at the property cash flow. Is this making any money? The loan to value ratios, LTV, and also they'll look at what we call the debt service coverage ratio, DSCR. How much the ratio of the income versus the loan that that's going to be applied. So these are some of the things that the lenders are looking for. And we need to know that up front so we don't get any surprises. So, so lenders aren't just funding properties. They're really evaluating whether you and I, as investors, can consistently generate income and manage debt. Okay, so they want to be sure that if they give you this loan, you're going to pay it back. And you have a history of managing and being able to take control and manage your debt. That's what they're really looking at. They're trying to minimize or at least mitigate some of the risks that's out there. So, one of the most common reasons investors get denied is because they fail to align their documents and the applications with the lender's expectations. They don't understand what the lender is looking for, what documentation they're looking for. So they submit stuff or they can't provide stuff, and therefore the loan gets denied. Inconsistent tax filings, or maybe didn't file taxes. Yesterday was April the 15th, tax day. Hopefully you submitted your tax returns, or if you didn't, it's okay. I didn't do mine. I filed for an extension, and so it buys me more time. And I think I have it through October the 15th to file the taxes. So hopefully you file for an extension if you didn't file your returns. But yeah, you want, because the lender, if you didn't file your returns, your 2024 returns, they want to make sure that you did request an extension. Things like missing lease agreements. If you're renting a property, they want to see a lease that you have in place that shows the income that you have from your tenants. Also, unpredictable income, is also a red flag as well. So successful investors like you and I know what lenders want to see, and we sort of position ourselves to be able to provide it in a clean, organized, and verifiable way. Okay, we keep our personal and our business finances well documented. We proactively manage our debt to income ratios and also our liquidity. And we're ready for the underwriting reviews because we understand what they're looking for. Again, there's no surprises. And another thing is that sometimes, in fact, many times, they want to see reserves, that you've got some cash at hand in order to handle a rainy day. So it depends on the bank in terms of what their requirements are. It could be 2 months, 3 months, 6 months of principal, interest, tax, and insurance in reserves for every property. So again, you need to understand what reserve requirements that the bank or the lender has, and you want to make sure that you can pull that together. A lot of people overlook that, and they get burned to the back end. So this detail is often missed by new investors who may be tight on liquidity, and so on. So the result of that is that the deal falls apart because of insufficient reserves, even when the credit and the income looks good on paper. Okay, so what's the action item associated with that part? Is request a sample document checklist from a lender or broker in terms of what they're looking for before you apply. Review your last 2 years worth of tax returns and make sure that they reflect real estate income clearly. Maintain a reserve, equal to 3 to 6 months if you can, but have some reserves because lenders want to see that. Okay, moving on to number 3 of 6. Credit score and investor success. Credit, and your success. So what's the question? How does your credit score impact your investing, and how can you improve it to unlock better terms? Okay, so how does your credit score impact your investing? So your credit score isn't just a number. It's a powerful negotiating tool when dealing with lenders. Higher credit scores unlock better interest rates, lower closing costs, and more favorable terms, loan terms. Difference can be 20 points, can impact your borrowing capacity by thousands of dollars annually. So, credit score can have a big impact in terms of the interest rate that you get, and also in terms of the amount of interest that you pay. So that's why successful investors treat credit as a strategic asset and not an afterthought. However, many investors sabotage their credit without realizing it. Yeah, they don't understand the power of credit and the importance of credit until it's too late. So financing renovations, for example, with credit cards, I know that's something that some gurus have pitched. Go to your credit card, max it out, do a rehab, and so on and so on. I mean, that may sound good in theory. It's going to have an impact on your credit. It's going to have an impact on your utilization across multiple accounts, which is going to have a ding on your credit report. And also applying for new credit during a mortgage process can also cause you damage. It looks suspicious if you're applying for credit while you are looking for credit. Okay. And so in contrast, top tier investors like you and I, we maintain excellent credit habits. We limit unnecessary inquiries and we pay attention to credit utilization. Okay. And we understand which behaviors move the score and how lenders will interpret those reports. Okay. So additionally, proactive credit management includes routinely checking for errors. Credit reports can contain inaccurate geography marks, outdated accounts, or fraudulent activity, all of which can delay or even derail your financing. So smart investors like you and I, we pull out credit reports multiple times a year and we dispute inaccuracies that's in there. So what are some of the action items associated with credit? Sign up for credit monitoring to track your credit changes. Keep utilization under 30% and ideally below 10% on revolving accounts. Pay down revolving balances before applying for new mortgages. Okay, so kind of halfway through. As always, put your questions in the chat box and I'll get to them in about 10 minutes. Anything to the real estate, any deals you're looking at, landlord issues, challenges that you're facing, anything to real estate, throw in the comment box, chat box, and I'll get to them in about 10 minutes. Hopefully I can be able to give you my perspective on those things. Also, if you want to book a one-on-one where we can do a deep dive into any situation that you have, any challenges that you're experiencing, any problems that you're facing, any frustrations that you have, book a one-on-one and you can leverage my 35 years worth of experience. There aren't a whole lot of scenarios I haven't actually experienced. So hopefully I can share with you my insights and my perspective. There's no need to fight this thing alone. Sometimes you feel like you're on your own. It's good to talk it over. It's always good to meet people, speak to people, work with people who may have already had that experience as well. So let's go to number 4. The appraisal and property evaluation process. The appraisal and property evaluation process. So we're going to talk about appraisals. So why do appraisals, I suppose? Why do appraisals kill deals? And what can you do to avoid these surprises? The many a times I've had deals die because of an appraisal. I mean, I recall one scenario where I had a contract on a house. Everything was looking good. We agreed terms with the seller. I was flipping this house. We agreed terms with a buyer and everything was looking good. And the appraisal came in too low. And the net result of that was that either I had to raise or reduce the selling price, or the buyer had to kick in more money because the bank wouldn't lend them as much. And, they didn't want to bring more money to the table, so the deal died. So appraisals can make or break a deal, especially in a competitive market, especially, during the heyday when people were, multiple offers and people are buying stuff left, right, and center without seeing it, having escalation clauses and all that kind of stuff going on. You got to be careful because you may have an escalation clause in your contract, which bumps up the buying price, but the appraisal may not support that. So if the appraised value comes lower than the purchase price, then your lender will reduce the amount of money they're going to borrow you accordingly, forcing you to come up with a larger down payment, or you have to renegotiate the deal entirely. And it's hard to renegotiate deals in a competitive market. I mean, the market's a little soft now, so you do have some wiggle room there. But in a tight market, it's really hard. So many investors have had deals fall apart, not because the property wasn't valuable, but because they weren't prepared for appraisal realities. So what separates successful investors from those caught off guard is preparation. So before making offers, they review comparable sales comps anticipate lender appraisals, and avoid overpaying even in hot markets. So they also document improvements thoroughly. This is really important. If you've done some improvements to your property, you want to document that. Take photographs before and after, get receipts, anything, make a list of all the improvements that you made, anything that you can do to support your case. You want to document that and have that available for the appraiser. These small actions can influence valuations significantly. You know, I always do that. I call mine, what do I call it? I call it property project summary or property summary, where I kind of encapsulate all the improvements done before and after photographs and all the highlights and benefits of the property and so on. And I hand it over to the appraiser when they come for the appraisal. So some experienced investors even build relationships with appraisers in their market and work with lenders that have flexible appraisal appeal policies. So sometimes you have to appeal your appraisal, but you know, that's a risky one. The key is not to assume appraisals are out of your control, but you know, to influence the process by presenting strong evidence and data. So what are the action items here? Pull comps before submitting an offer and analyze appraisal trends in your target area. Pull comps before submitting an offer and analyze appraisal trends in your target area. Create a standardized appraisal packet for each property that you finance, and avoid, if you can, inflated prices for your properties. Avoid bidding wars if you can, and learn how to appeal as well. It's not a good tip. Learn how to appeal and a low appraisal. You know, and sometimes it's worth requesting a second opinion if your lender will allow that. Moving on to number 5 of 6 is fixed versus adjustable rate mortgages. We're going to talk about fixed versus adjustable rate. I think we all know what the terms are. So which is better for investors, fixed or adjustable? And how do you make the right choice? So really choosing between a fixed and adjustable or ARM can drastically change your financial outlook over the life of your loan. If you're going to have a buy and hold for a long time, I would strongly suggest that you get a fixed rate. If you're going to hold it for a few years, then yeah, get an adjustable if you can. Fixed rate mortgages offer predictability, locking in a stable payment over 15 or 30 years. This consistency can simplify long-term planning and also cash flow management. On the other hand, ARMs, adjustable rate mortgages, often offer lower initial rates, which can be appealing for short-term rentals or short-term holds or value add strategies. So, however, ARMs come with built-in risk. They are risky. I'm finding that out now. When the adjustment period hits, often 5, 7, or 10 years, your rate can jump significantly, and mine's gone up. So my cash flow is going down because my interest rate's gone down. Interest rate's gone up, sorry, relative to when I first took out the loan. So if you haven't sold, refinanced, or improved your property by then, you could face a major hit to your cash flow. That's why smart investors match mortgage products to their investment timelines and tolerances. Investors who made poor choices here underestimate how long they're going to hold their property, or they didn't anticipate interest rate rises. So yeah, it's a risky one. And so if you can get fixed rate, I strongly suggest you do that if you're going to hold on to the properties for a long time. So what are some of the action items? Review the adjustment caps and floors for your any adjustable rate mortgages. Discuss with your lender how ARM adjustments will be calculated, and choose financing based on your exit strategy, not your short-term situation. And finally, number 6, refinancing and equity strategies. So how can refinancing boost your portfolio, and when is it the right time to do it? So refinancing can be a game changer. It really can. I've refinanced several properties. I put home equity lines of credit on several properties and use that to grow my portfolio. Refinancing does allow you, if the situation is right, to lower your interest rate, extend your amortization, reduce your monthly payments, or pull out equity for future deals. But it's not always the right move, and poor timing can cost you more than you can save. Seasoned investors like you and I can plan our refinances around equity thresholds. So if the properties increase by 20-30%, we refinance. Market interest rates and also long-term goals. These are some of the considerations as to when you want to refinance. Things like, how much equity you have. Do you want to pull out equity? The interest rates, has it gone down? And also, what's your long-term goals? Is it growth? Are you in the acquisition phase where you need access to cash, in order to grow your portfolio? So, for instance, when interest rates drop, they're ready with a clean set of financials and solid documentation to lock in better terms. Others use cash out refinances to fund acquisitions, but only when their debt service coverage ratios and loan to value support the move. So missteps, happen when investors treat refinancing as a quick fix instead of a long-term strategy. It's a long-term strategy, if you can. Some over leverage their properties by pulling out too much equity, which in turn reduces cash flow and increases risk. Others fail to prepare for lender scrutiny, causing delays, denials, or rejections. So the best investors operate as if a refinance could happen at any moment. They keep good records, and they keep their reserves strong, and they keep their credit intact. So they can be ready at short notice should the circumstances cause you to want to do a refinance. So what are some of the action items associated with this? Evaluate your refinance options every 6 to 12 months based on equity growth. Track current interest rates, trends with your lender or broker. Maintain updated rent rolls, tax returns, and operating statements. And use refinance proceeds to grow strategically, not to plug financial gaps or have a good party or vacations or whatever it is. Use your home equity lines or refinances strategically, and so on. So that's number 6. And let's just wrap it up. Conclusion. Your financing foundation for long-term success is all about the money. Traditional mortgages aren't just a means to acquire property. They are a strategic tool that can unlock long-term financial freedom when used properly. Investors who take the time to understand underwriting, maintain solid credit, plan for appraisals, and choose the right mortgage products are consistently more successful than those who take a reactive deal-by-deal approach. The hard truth is that financing is where many deals are made or lost, whether it's a denial due to reserves, a surprise appraisal issue, or poorly chosen loan terms. These mistakes can cost tens of thousands of dollars or even more. But with the right knowledge, preparation, and support, these risks become manageable. So let's manage our risks. Let's use money as stepping stones instead of stumbling blocks. And hopefully we can pursue our financing goals, so that way we can build a portfolio, build financial independence, and hopefully build wealth and have a legacy which you can pass on to others. So with that said, my friends, I'm going to wrap it up. And as usual, if you've got any questions, please put them in the chat box, and I'll get to them in about 2 minutes. And anything to do with real estate investing, now's the time to throw your questions in. I'll give my best shot into trying to answer them. If you want to shoot me an email, you can email me at joe@joeasamoah.com, joe@joeasamoah.com. And you can also book a one-on-one with me. Go to my website, www.joeasamoah.com, www.joeasamoah.com. And I'll be more than happy to do a one-on-one with you where we can do a deep dive into any situation that you have. It's not worth trying to figure it out yourself sometimes. Sometimes people have already figured out the problem. And so, as I say, the wise man learns from his mistakes. A genius learns from other people's mistakes. Hopefully my goal is that you're a genius and you'll learn from my mistakes that I've made. So hopefully you can avoid making those mistakes yourself. So with that said and done, let's get down to Q&A. And let's have a look. Let's see if I get to the questions. Dow 2. Hey, how's it going, guy? From Phoenix. I'm sure it's nice and warm in Phoenix. It's getting warm over here now. Thank goodness. Hope you're doing well there too. Nesta Can, I'm in the process of getting a mortgage from Rocket Mortgage. Okay. The underwriting team are asking me for a lot of information and documents. It's a 30-year mortgage at 7.1% interest rate. Okay. Let's have a look. I hate balloon mortgages. What are your thoughts on those kind of loans? So this is let's go back to your original question. The underwriting team are asking me a lot of documents. It's a 30-year mortgage. Is it a 30-year fixed rate? I think Rocket Mortgages, they do traditional financing. So if it's a 30-year mortgage, I'm assuming it's a 30-year fixed, 7.1 interest rate. Seems a little high. I think you can get into the sixes. The question becomes, you're saying they're asking for a lot of documentation. I mean, you have to be more specific than that. But I mean, typically what I would have done before I applied to Rocket Mortgage or any mortgage company, I will do some research first to find out typically what kind of documents do they ask for, what's their underwriting process like, and what's the timeline for a typical process. So I try and do that, initial, research first. So during my research, I will understand what they're looking for. They'll need A, B, C, D, E. Okay, maybe F. Let's just say. So I know that. So before I apply, I assemble A, B, C, D, E. Okay, put it all together before I apply. And if there's anything wrong with A, B, C, D, and E, I would obviously seek counsel to see if it's going to be a deal killer or not. But hopefully, whatever dings, if there are any dings, you can explain it and so on. So I will do the research, find out what they need, put together A, B, C, D, E, and then apply. Or I'll do some shopping to compare how other companies, what they are offering, given the situation today. So you may find out that 7.1 interest rate, for example, is a very competitive rate. Or you may find out that you can get better than that. You can get in the sixes by going somewhere else. And then you would then make the application to that other company because you don't want too many inquiries on your, on your credit file and so on. So I suppose what you can help me with, Nestor, is maybe let me know what kind of documents they're asking for, and if there's really anything that's unusual in that request. If it's something unusual, then I should be able to tell you. If it's the standard stuff, then whether you go to another lender, they're probably going to ask for the same information anyway. But what it tells me is that another approach would have been to find out what they needed first, assemble that, then make the application. So hopefully there wouldn't be any surprises. So if you want to follow through, Nestor, I'm more than happy to elaborate further. Ouch. Rates are higher now than they were 5 to 7 years ago. Yes. Do you have these commercial loans because you grouped a lot of single families onto one loan? No. I bought a lot of these properties in my entities. And so I had to make a decision whereby do I want to, go traditional loans and transfer it from my entities to my personal name, or do I want to keep it in entities and then go forward with commercial loans? So I have a hybrid. I have some properties that are in traditional mortgages, and I have some that's in commercial loans. But the problem with the commercial loans is that they reset every 5 to 7 years, and 5 to 7 years ago, interest rates were lower. So now, they've increased. So I have to go with the prevailing rate. And it's what would I have done differently? Probably, I mean, there are pros and cons of commercial loans versus residential loans. But it's okay. It's okay. We're refinancing and we're moving on. So yes, that's the reason why, I did it that way. Okay, quick update. The voucher program paid my tenants rent on April 15th. Oh my goodness. Wow. Hey, congratulations. You got your money instead of April the 1st. They normally pay on the first. Yes, they normally do. I don't know why they paid so late. But the bottom line usually is that as long as the tenant's in your property, you're going to get paid by the housing authority. At least for me, for the last 35 years, there's never been a month where they didn't pay me. Maybe a few days late, but in the bottom line is that I did get paid. And it sounds like in your situation, you got paid as well. Now, who knows what's going to happen when, if funding for HUD is cut by the current administration. So we see where that plays out. But yeah, there's going to be some changes coming down the line. And I think that there's certain things that we can do as savvy investors to prepare for that. Maybe I'll do a session on preparing for, the rainy day that's coming down the line. I mean, even the Fed chairman was talking today about, we could be hitting recession soon. It's not looking good. Anyway, I know you typically do refinances for your rental properties as part of the BRRRR. How have you ever done a HELOC on any of the properties? I find the terms aren't as favorable on a HELOC. Yes, I've got several HELOCs. And because I've owned these properties for a long time. And if you buy something today, hold it for a while, eventually, hopefully, the value is going to go up. And therefore, you're going to increase equity. And then you can tap into that equity through a home equity line of credit, HELOC. So, yeah, that's what I've done. So on some properties, the strategy was buy a house, wait a number of years, put together a HELOC, and then leverage or tap into that home equity line to buy more properties. Because I was in the growth phase of my real estate, journey. And I was acquiring. And so it's really important to get access to financing. And I use my home equity line to do that. That was before the days I started doing, private lending. So I now have private investors who I can, who borrow me money as well. So yeah, it's HELOC is definitely, the way to go. But you can't usually do a HELOC at the end of a BRRRR because the whole idea of a BRRRR when you refinance is to tap into and maximize your loan on the back end, so you can recoup all your expenses or recoup all your costs and the monies, so that way you can recycle the limited money that you have. So it's not usually you usually can't get a HELOC on a BRRRR property until you hold it for a number of years and the property value has gone up. But I do like HELOCs. There's quite a few of them out there now, especially some are interested. It will even lend to investors on investment properties. But the terms are usually they're flexible. They're adjustable loans. Interest rates are a little bit higher, and they change on a rapid basis. The other downside of a HELOC is that that's happened to me before, was that the bank, if the market tanks, will just cut the HELOC off. So you think you got a $100,000 HELOC, for example, and tomorrow the bank could just say, no, we're closing the account, we're locking it up. You now have nothing, no access to any money, or maybe 10,000 or 20,000. So you're thinking you have 100,000, which you do today, but tomorrow you may be down to 20,000 or 10,000 or even zero. That's the unfortunate thing about HELOCs. They can change on you, especially if the market goes down. The lender wants to know if my house is my primary residence or rental. What is the difference? I lied and told them it's my primary residence, hoping I can get a lot of proof. Well, I can't condone you lying. But normally if it's a primary residence, you get better terms. The loan to value is usually higher on a, you can borrow more money on a primary residence than you can on a rental or investment property. The logic is that if it's a rental property, you can just as well walk away because you still have somewhere to stay. But if it's your primary residence, normally most people don't, walk away from their primary residence unless it's really, really bad. So it's usually there's more risk associated with investment properties than primary residences. And that's the reason why the interest rates are slightly higher, or it means that the loan to value that you can borrow is slightly lower on a investment property compared to a primary residence. Hopefully that helps, Nestor. When you no longer have had a W-2 job, okay? First, have you ever gotten a conventional loan? And question, did you just have to supply 2 years tax returns to get approved along with bank statements? Okay, so when I transitioned away from my W-2 job to full-time real estate investor, financing obviously becomes harder because a lot of the banks, they want they want to see pay stubs, and you don't have it. You're self-employed. So, so that's when sometimes you have to go to commercial loans, because commercial loans, they have different lending criteria, and many times they lend based on the income generated from the asset. So, but they do want to see your tax returns. And this is where it's a lesson I learned, Datu, was that, I think I mentioned that a couple of weeks ago when I did a session on taxes, is that most people want to minimize the amount of taxes that they pay. So their tax return is all about that. It's all about, minimizing income, maximizing expenses, so they pay less taxes. Okay. Now that may be good in the sense that you're paying less taxes, but if you're self-employed or whatever it is, the lender may ask to see your tax returns. And if they look at your tax returns and you're making no money, i.e. you're not paying much taxes, then in their eyes, your business is not profitable. Okay. So you're going to have a harder time borrowing money if you skew your tax return too much in one direction, whereby you minimize taxes. Okay, hopefully this makes sense. I know it's a little dry, but I learned the hard way. And so, because I was all about, hey, I don't want to pay any taxes. I want to pay as little taxes as I can. So my CPA did the returns accordingly. And I was happy until I started applying for loans. And then they realized that this guy's not making any money, and therefore they denied the loans. So what my CPA does now is different. What they want to know is, am I going to apply for loans? And you want a lender who understands. You want a CPA, a tax preparer that understands this, because if they do, then they're going to, your tax returns will reflect the fact that you're making money, and therefore the amount of money you're making, which that's reflected by your tax return, will allow you to borrow what you need. Your adjustable gross income allows you to apply for more properties. So this is really, really important. You want to make sure that your tax preparer understands what your long-term goal is. If it's to still acquire more properties, then you want to make sure that your tax return allows you to do that. And you have to have a CPA that understands that. Okay. So yes, tax returns becomes really important. The asset becomes more important, and bank statements become important. Reserves become important. Yeah. So again, it's the same as what I said before. It's all about understanding what the lenders are looking for before you make the loan application. That way you can prepare and you can make sure that the documents that you have will allow you to get the loan approved. If you go in there with in the dark, where you're thinking they need A, B, C, and then you find out that in fact they need C, D, E, then you got a problem, and now you're sort of so understand what their requirements are before you continue. Why is refinancing into a different mortgage necessary in the BRRRR method, only to pull cash out? No. Has there ever been a case where it wasn't in your best interest to refi? The whole idea of the BRRRR For those people who don't understand, BRRRR is buy, renovate, rent, refinance, repeat. Okay, so you buy a house or an asset for one value, one price. You do some improvements through the renovation to force appreciation of the house. So you're making some upgrades to the house, which will increase the value. Once it's finished, then you're going to refinance, and typically the money that you buy to buy and renovate it is what we call short-term money. So it could be hard money, it could be a commercial loan, it could be a construction loan, whatever it is. It's short-term financing, typically 6 to 12 months in duration. So the lender wants their money back in 12 months. Okay, so therefore you buy the property, do the improvements, increase the value, and then you refinance based on the new value. And then the new value is higher, obviously, and then you take a new loan based on that value. So so you don't normally put a HELOC as part of a BRRRR process, and only to pull cash out. So you're not really pulling cash out. What you're trying to do is to recoup the cash that you put into the property. Okay, so that's what the goal of the refinance is in the BRRRR strategy, is that the amount of cash that you put into the deal to acquire and renovate it, you're going to get that back based on the higher value that the property has now that you've done the upgrades. Has there ever been a case where it wasn't your best? So I always, if I do the BRRRR, I'm into refinancing it. Obviously, you have to work backwards to find out what the rent you can get, and hopefully the market doesn't tank on you, whereby the value is lower than what you would like it to be. Okay, got some questions? Please put them in. Otherwise, we're going to wrap it up in a couple of minutes. Let's have a look. Dow 2, great explanation and advice for my non-W2 questions. Thank you. Oh, okay, good. So, yeah, I think we're good. It's now about 8 o'clock. We're getting close to 8 o'clock. And let's have a look. Thanks as always, Dr. Joe. Appreciate learning from you as a pro. You're welcome, Ty. Again, if you got some questions, put them in the chat box. Otherwise, we're going to wrap it up. If you want to shoot me an email, you can reach me at joe@joeasamoah.com, joe@joeasamoah.com. Or if you want to book a one-on-one with me, you go to my website, www.joeasamoah.com, www.joeasamoah.com, and you can schedule a one-on-one with me where we can do a deep dive into any situation, any problems, any challenges, any frustration that you have, and we should be good to go. And Katie Bebel, hey Katie, thanks for the info, Dr. Joe. You're welcome, Katie. I haven't spoke to you in a little while. Hope all is well with you. I think that's about it. 8 o'clock, almost. So I hope you have a good week. Hope you have a great next week, and I'll see you next Wednesday at 7 p.m. Have yourself a wonderful rest of the week. Take care. Bye for now.